the moment we all wait for in a book, because that is where the action begins. Welcome to the Rainy Corner. My name is donnabravo, and I have brought you just a few things that you should know about throwing your protagonist into the endless abyss that is your plot. Let's get into it, shall we? So first off, what is it? The inciting incident is the event that sets everything into motion. It is the crucial part of your novel that shoves your protagonist into the world of pain and sorrow they probably don't want. So here are a few things you should know about making a compelling inciting incident. Number 1, not every inciting incident needs to be complex and elaborate. Some of the best inciting incidents are simple scenarios where the obstacle means something more to the person. Maybe you're writing a story about a nurse who works at imaginary hospital when suddenly there is a new patient in the hospital. A child with terminal cancer, which reminds her of her own child who died 20 years prior. When you look at this, the hospital is full of children with cancer, maybe terminal, maybe not. And this child is another patient. But to this nurse, this child is different. And the arrival of this child is going to trigger emotions and memories that may eventually help our nurse get over the fact that her own child died. Most contemporaries have simple inciting incidents, but what makes them very compelling is that they're personal to the protagonist. It hits close to home. Most sci-fis and fantasies have more complex inciting incidents, where the ultimate problem is that the fate of the world or an ideal is threatened. Most of them aren't personal or hit close to home with the protagonist, but nothing is set in stone. Maybe something along the way in your plot may hit close to home to the protagonist, but the inciting incident wasn't personal per se. A complex dystopian world with magic systems and corrupt government can have plots of growth and an inciting incident that kicks close to home, while a contemporary book can have some super complicated money-making scheme with a dark overlord that's trying to mirror your son. It can go both ways in so many genres. The inciting event is the event that says plot into motion. Without the inciting incident, nothing can really happen. So you don't want your inciting incident to be 150 pages into your book. You will bore your reader, they will put the book down, they will leave a bad review, and you will go broke. So don't do that unless it's absolutely crucial for your novel. But I don't recommend it. The same way your inciting incident shouldn't take too long to make an appearance, it shouldn't take a second either. If I can look at the first paragraph of the book and see that the inciting incident is right there, then we have a problem. What you want to do is put the inciting incident either near the middle or end of the first chapter or somewhere in the second chapter. The third chapter would be a stretch, but if that suits your story, go for it. But I would say not to let it go after the third chapter. After the third chapter, I am putting that book down. Before versus after kind of goes with when to put your inciting incident, because you're looking at things before the inciting incident happened and after the inciting incident happened. After the inciting incident, you don't need to worry about that. That's basically your plot and the ending and the climax and everything else. But before the inciting incident, let's say the first chapter, maybe only half the chapter or the entire chapter, you want to give your readers a brief of what the protagonist's life was like before they were thrown into this abyss of agony and tears and blood. If your reader doesn't know how tranquil or how horrible or how amazing your protagonist's life was before the inciting incident, how will they know that they changed? How will they know that they weren't aggressive before, that they weren't calm before, that they didn't know how to fight or they didn't know how to read or anything? How will they be able to compare? I'd say that for the first chapter, let them live their life. Show the reader who they are or who they used to be. Then with the inciting incident, the reader will be able to get a gist of how this push changes their life, either for the better or for the worse. They will be able to sympathize with this poor, tortured soul. The inciting incident shouldn't only set the plot into motion. It should also spark a hidden desire inside of your protagonist. Better yet, a desire that goes against everything they've ever known, or something they thought they never wanted. For example, if the protagonist is a hard-working woman who has absolutely no time to think about love because she thinks it's a waste of time and energy, the inciting incident may be being introduced to the annoying, smart, and charming love interest. She refuses to think she's falling in love because maybe she's had some bad experiences, and she thinks it's a waste of time. But the meeting of this stranger woke the hidden desire to love and to be loved inside of her, which goes against everything she ever thought she knew. Something like this essentially also helps your plot. If it is a hidden desire, then your protagonist might be able to control themselves. They have the power to say yes and give in to that desire, or no and back out. With this, you will have a character-driven story, which is a whole lot better than a plot-driven one. With the example I just used, it will mostly be character-driven, because our protagonist may not want things to escalate in fear that she will grow too attached and she will get hurt. And so, he will go for her, but she will always reject the conflict. During the inciting incident, don't just shove the protagonist into the plot. Create the conflict right then and there. Maybe you don't have to present the problem right there, but foreshadow it. Leave some hints, leave some people talking about the rebellion going on that your protagonist has no idea, but later she will be introduced to. Leave some hints, foreshadow, leave some fragments scattered all over, and have your protagonist think, what does this mean? The inciting incident will inevitably let your reader know what this is going to be about and how the story will be told. So your inciting incident might want to be mind-blowing and simple yet in a complex way. I'm not saying that you gotta shove dragons in there, but you have to present an issue, at least for the protagonist. The fate of the world doesn't have to be in danger, but maybe your character has to set foot out of their comfort zone to be able to solve a problem. And there you go, a couple of ways on how to make your inciting incident better and to not let your readers put that book down. Let them get to the inciting incident and say, hey, this book sounds great. You'll thank yourself. Anyways, thank you for joining me on this episode of The Rainy Corner on how to write a compelling inciting incident. I hope to see all of you next Monday on another episode of The Rainy Corner. Bye.